guys, today we're going to talk about eco-printing with natural goods that you would find in your garden. Here are the supplies that you're going to need. I use, I have a stainless steel pot, I have water, I have vinegar, I have 140-pound watercolor paper, and I have some natural things that I have picked up at the garden, and I picked this up at the Learning Garden. And so what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna dunk all my paper into the pot, into my water. And the reason I'm doing it this way is because you want it to be a little bit wet when you stack it. So I have some little ones. I don't know what I'm gonna do with the little ones, but I don't want them to stick together like that. And then I have some bigger ones. I really feel like they're not gonna fit in there. So let's do this the other way. We're just gonna go ahead and put them into my dye pot. And we're not gonna worry at all about that I spilled all that water everywhere. Okay, so we're just gonna put them to soak in here. And I just want the water to go between each one of the layers. And then we're gonna let them soak as I pile the materials between them. So let's turn them all over. Got a small avalanche. All right, so I turned it over so that the first one that I put in was the first one I'm gonna take out. I turned the pile over. And I kind of don't have a plan for this. We have a short couple of little videos that we're going to use to talk about like what the kinds of things that I have. I have some amaranth, and so I'm really just going to put a layer of this like on each onto each pile, just so we can see what happens, what colors we're going to get. So this is amaranth. You can actually, I don't know that I said that right, you can actually eat the seeds that come off in your hands, the little black ones. So we have some amaranth. I have some Mexican sunflower petals. Let's just take those off, make a little design. Make a stack. So with this, we'll dye both sides of my paper. So I'm gonna try to like balance out like that I put something fat on one side, and I put something fat on the other side, so that when I stack these, that they kind of balance themselves out. I really love these yellow sunflowers. So I'm gonna stack these and I will be right back with you. Okay, so I have my stack and we're just gonna make a knot on the top. You wanna tie this pretty tight. You wanna get a nice little knot on there. Let's move this up. Sometimes being left-handed is not. So I'm just gonna tie it and I'm gonna flip it a couple of times. And now I've got a good sort of like thing that I can just sort of start wrapping. Then I have another piece and I'm gonna go the other direction. I really am excited about doing this today. I'm actually just going to tie these together. I just wanted to hold that in place while I did this. And then we're just going to go the other direction and kind of wrap it. So what's going to happen is I have some natural substances in here. We're gonna drop it in the water in the skillet, and we're gonna simmer it on the gas grill for an hour and a half in water that's also got a little bit of vinegar. In a gallon of vinegar, you need a cup of water. I have about 4 cups of water. I have just shy of 4 cups of water in that pot. And I'm gonna put about a 1/4 cup of vinegar in there. We're also gonna give this a little trim because it won't go in my pot if I do that. Okay, so we have our pot. We're gonna add our vinegar. This is a 1/2 cup measurement, so I'm just gonna use a 1/4 of it. It's got a little line inside of it I don't think y'all can see. We're just gonna put the 1/4 cup in there. And the other thing that I have that I'm gonna do is I have a little bit of leftover turmeric dye that came from another project that's not exhausted. And I'm going to just pour it on the insides as when I put it in. I'm gonna drop it in. So let's go to the grill. All right, so like I said, I was gonna put a little bit of turmeric in my thing, so I put it in a drop bottle, and I'm just gonna squeeze it down inside the layers. I'm pretty sure that this will just dye this. I've never tried it with turmeric, but it dyes the yarn perfectly, so. I thought about just pouring it on there, and I didn't want to do that because that would be really messy. All right, so now we're just waiting for the water to boil, and then once the water boils, we will put it in the water. It will simmer for 1.5 hours, and we will come back and check on it, and hopefully we have dye in there. Ah! Okay, so we have a couple bubbles. I'm gonna turn it down in, like my mom's getting dirt out of it. It's okay. It's okay. I think it's a seed. We have a couple bubbles. I don't want it to boil. I just want it to simmer. And we're gonna drop this down in here. Try not to burn me. All right, so we just want you to know that this split our rock when we put it in there. That heat split the rock. So we'll put it on the grill. Notice I had tongs this time because this is really hot. And we're just gonna pull it up. And if you notice, now it's staying down. So we can see some sort of dyeing going on. So we're just gonna leave it in there for a couple of, maybe not. All right, so we're gonna let it cool off a minute. We're just gonna set it on the rock again. We're gonna let it cool off, and then we're gonna open it up and see what we have. All right, so now we have pulled this out of the dye bath, and I am undoing it. The paper is really super delicate. That's why I chose to take it out of the dye bath right then, because I noticed the paper was starting to tear a little bit. So you wanted to pay attention to that. This is watercolor paper. Reeves BFK would actually work better because it's used to being in the water like that. I will actually save this yarn. I used cotton yarn, and I'll actually save it and rinse it out because it dyed with turmeric. So let's see what we have. And like I said, it's always an experiment for me. And that's what I love about this. So you can see you got some of the turmeric that went through, the amaranth. And that's kind of it for that. I had kind of older, you can see that it kind of resisted there where the leaves are. I'm gonna let it dry before I do it again. But on this side we got more. There's some variations in it. I'm just getting the bigger pieces off, and then I'm gonna let them dry. These little berries I'm gonna go ahead and smush. Just, why not? So the little leaves will come off. I love that berry color. It's actually It's actually a spinach berry on, I think, winter spinach. So you can see right here that the little yellow petals actually went through, but the amaranth didn't give us any color whatsoever, which is surprising because usually it will give you a really bright color. Now that is really cool. It formed a sort of resist, and all that was rose petals that I had put on there. And so if you remember when I started, I dumped a little bit of the turmeric in there, and I didn't put very much, and I got this sort of beautiful color from it. So it could have used a little more pressure on the when I tied it, but I'm really, really happy with the results. So we're gonna let these dry. We'll come back to it, and I'll scrape all the petals off that I can't get off right now. Okay.
Ready?
Yep.
All right, welcome back. So you remember when we, in the last part of the video, I was unwrapping all of the papers, and I said that there were a couple that didn't take so much. And so these are the ones that were either at the top or the bottom, and they didn't show that much. You know, I can see some like sort of like where it had like made a resist, and I can see a little bit of the yellow from the sunflowers. So some of them, like on their own, are not probably what I would do. I would probably not use them in something. And remember when I was taking them out of the dye bath, I decided to take them out when I did because it had, the paper had crinkled like that, and I wasn't very happy with that. And I started playing with that one, so we're gonna set that aside. But then I said I had 3 that I was really sort of happy with. You can see that like from front to back, you know, depending on where they were at, I think in the pot and all of those sort of things. And this is what you're gonna get when you dye like eco printing. You're not gonna know what you're gonna get usually. So I really like this one, and it will be one that I play with. And so how I see these, how I'm going to do these is I have 3 that I really like, and I'm going to do 3 little drawings on each one, 3 abstracts, and then I'm just going to frame them together so they're photographed together. So this is the first one, and it is probably my least favorite of the 3. And the backs, see, didn't get as much dye. These next 2 are probably my favorite ones. It got a little crinkled on the edge. I'm kind of okay with that. It's got a lot of color on the back. That's from the turmeric that I dropped in there. I would have thought it would have been a little yellower, but we'll see. We'll see next time. And then this is probably my favorite one. And as you can see, it didn't get anything. So this was probably the bottom, right? Or the top. I should have paid attention when I pulled it out of the bath, which one was which. But I think these were on the bottom. Or on the top, because there's not a lot of dye on that. Okay, so these are my favorite. And so when I do something like this, I always start with my least favorite one. And then you notice that I had this one on here. And you can see I've already started like doodling on it. And I was really just testing the pens. So I'm gonna show you what I have to kind of play with. I have all my brushes in front of me. I have a 0.05 micron, which I love that. It's a little skinny one. I have a 0.3 Staedtler pigment liner, which also, it's kind of got a bigger point than this one does. This one's really tiny. I can't get it off. Well, it's not as tiny. What if I have a smaller one? These are both, that one's brown. We might not use that one. I'm not seeing brown. We're not going to use the brown one. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. Then I have a brush. I have some avocado ink. If you've been watching these, or this is another video, I made avocado ink and I dyed some yarn. So I have some avocado ink, which is really sort of this lovely sort of light pink. And I have this glass dip pen that I've been playing with. because it's easier with the natural inks to use a dip pen rather than put it into a pen. So let's see what kind of marks we get on these colors. And remember, this one is darker, right? So I kind of have to be paying attention to that it's darker than the other one. So I shook my ink up a while ago. So all this is going to do is it's going to give us this nice sort of like beautiful, it kind of is like a pink color, and I really like it. I also have a white pen. Let's use the white pens too. I have little white jelly rolls. So I like that. I really like that. You can use the avocado ink. It gives you this sort of like, some people say it's a flesh color, and I'm not quite sure if it's a flesh color. This is the turmeric ink, which I also have, and I'll pull that out of my bag. I like that this avocado ink just gives us sort of this nice sort of like, I like it better than the brown. That's brown there. That's why I knew I didn't want to use the brown. The blue ink is Waterman ink. I think it's like, it's a turquoise, but they don't call it turquoise. They call it like Baltic or something like that. So I'm really kind of liking this. I didn't get it up that time. So that's kind of nice. Don't do what I do. Have a paper towel, because I don't have a paper towel right here. Have a paper towel. I'll get one in a second. I wiped it on my shirt. All right, don't do that. Kids, if you're at home. So when I start an abstract, I will look at, we're going to make sure I have the skinny one in my hand. And I do. And I told you I was using the one that I liked the least. And all I'm going to do is look for areas that I would like to highlight rather than detract from, right? So I really love these little white areas. And all I'm going to do is very lightly go in and start highlighting these areas. If you've watched me before, if you've watched me on one of our other videos, you'll know that I normally, as a rule, have a real sketchy drawing. And I don't always like that because I want my lines to meet up perfectly. Perfect doesn't happen in most times. So I try to make my lines meet up, but you can see that I'll get off every once in a while. Now make sure you can still see what I'm doing. So I really kind of like that. It kind of like accentuates the marks that are already in here. And because this is like this, it is going to be like that, I'm going to make that a design feature. I'm going to outline it and connect it sort of to the rest of the design. And we're just going to not ignore that it happened, but maybe accentuate that it happened. We're going to add cross hatching. And you can hear it raining. This is why we're not outside today. It started raining when I was started to work, so I had to come inside. It's kind of nice hearing it rain. So I think that the most important thing is that you don't get caught up in, say, what you are, I'm going to draw all the lines all at one time. And then I'm going to do all of the avocado ink all at one time. I think that you have to start and stop. I think you have to add and then go back and maybe add more and not really so much worry about what you're doing. It's a little different when I'm doing it like right now when I'm doing this because I have to talk and draw at the same time. But I really love this avocado ink. I have probably a gallon Ziploc bag in my freezer right now to make more ink. I'm very excited about it. In my personal work, I tend to use really, really vibrant, bright colors. And this, I haven't built a sculpture in a while, and these sort of quiet, natural drawings are really, really nice. I really am enjoying the whole process, so to speak. And I'd really like to find something that dyes like this, that gives me this colorway, but I'm okay with adding to it. That doesn't bother me. And so we're going to let this one dry a second. And I will be right back with you once this is dry enough to work on. All right, so our avocado ink dried, and it dried really fast, and all I did was move my lights from one side to the other because I'm left-handed, and I noticed that I could see that shadow. And so it took about 5 minutes for the avocado ink to dry. When you're working on art like this, I always find like it's super helpful to like get up and move, walk away from something and just let it dry. So I always encourage that. I'm trying to get the brown pen out of my sight. And so I really kind of like that. And in the meantime, I found my my blue ink, that beautiful turquoise ink that I love. And I have my Jelly Roll pens. And so we're just going to add a little bit more detail. I tend to like the Micron pens just a little bit better than the Staedtlers. I don't know why. I think it's just what I'm used to. I think I like the feel of it. And so I'm just going to go back in and start highlighting a few more areas. And I can see sort of like some variations in the paper, and that's what I'm highlighting. I just want to bring attention to those little gorgeous little areas where the paper and the natural materials have given me something to play with, so to speak. I really like pattern and texture, so a lot of time you'll see me do something. There's like a meditative way of drawing called Zentangle. And so a lot of times you'll see me just create patterns and areas, and it comes from studying that and watching that. And I follow, there are a couple of contemporary artists that I really love that do that. Falana Oliphant, she does these gorgeous sort of like drawings on Yupo paper, and I really love those. So this is kind of darker. I'm hoping my white will show up, and it doesn't. So I like work that catches you by surprise. You have to look at it closely to see the detail, which is why when you're using like this Jelly Roll pen, you probably wouldn't see that from across a gallery. But if you get up close to the work, then you're going to see these finer details. And I would probably guess a work like this, it would probably take me to finish the work, start to finish, probably about an hour or two. And it's fairly small. It's like not much bigger than my hand. I think they're 5 inches. But I really sort of just love following the lines and seeing which lines I want to accentuate and which lines I want to just ignore. Some areas speak for themselves. You don't have to do anything with it. I really love that white pen. Now that you can start seeing it, I hope you can see it. I hope you can see that white pen in there. I really kind of like it. And like I said, I haven't been doing much drawing lately. I tend to do large sculptures, so this is a nice break for me. Not to have to like think of something that's going to be 6 feet. And so what will happen to those pieces that I don't like as much is they really will go into a larger sculpture. I'll just cut them. So the way this dip pen works is I find that you have to hold it in there for a couple minutes and let those grooves catch all the ink. And then when you pull it out, I kind of hold it to the side, and you get this gorgeous ink flow out. And I think this is the easiest way to paint, to draw with the natural inks, is like this. I should have shook it up. The ink has a little bit of turmeric in, or gum arabic in it, so that it'll hold it thickened it a little bit. These kind of look like planets to me. I think it's because they're round, but so I'm just going to continue to draw on this for a few minutes, and I will be back with you with the finished piece. Okay, so here you have the finished piece. I probably worked on it for about 15 or 20 more minutes, and I mostly worked on it with the avocado ink. And you notice I spilled a couple of drops of it, and I tend to just go with the flow when things like that happen, and I really love what happened. I just picked my paper up, so all I did was pick my paper up and sort of help it down the road and highlighted the mistakes. They're not mistakes, they're just things that happen. I really kind of like this. I worked a lot with the avocado ink and the dip pen, and you can kind of see in the details what that is. And I'm going to post a detailed picture on my personal Instagram, which is L Edwards Art. And so you can see like an up close picture of it. I put it on the white paper because this is how I intend to show it, is just on a white background and a simple frame. I really, really love the results. I hope you really try it. And stay tuned. We have more videos coming for our Art in the Garden project. Thank you.